I'm super excited. I can't wait to dive in here. So tonight I'm talking with Lisa Espinosa. Lisa lost her mom when she was just 18 after a year-long battle with lung cancer. Her mom was her rock and the person she thought she couldn't live without. That loss shaped her life in big ways. And Lisa can attest to this. Lisa went on to become a writer, a speaker, and a therapist. She's written books like Days of Wine and Noses for encouraging tuckered out moms and First Brush Your Teeth, a raw look at grief in real time. She's someone who knows what it's like to carry loss into adulthood and still find a way forward. Lisa, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Let me correct one real quick thing. I'm a certified grief and loss counselor. I would love to call myself a therapist, but I forgot to get my master's degree and go for that license. I just
Okay,
forgot. So
perfect. Well, we'll put that in the show notes then. But thank you for being here. I'd love to kind of just kick us off, Lisa, and kind of get started for tonight. But before we go back into your story, I'd love to kind of know, and if you can share with the audience, who are you right now? What does life look like for you these days?
I have a beautiful, wonderful life. I am the Mimi to two granddaughters and one more, well, grandson on the way, mother of four adult children, one that is not here on this planet with skin on anymore, Chandler. I am been married 40. I work for a wonderful company that provides therapies for survivors of brain injury, which unfortunately my son was not one of those survivors. I'm a writer and speaker and owner of a weenie dog and a golden doodle that hopefully you don't hear right now barking as their dad comes home. Um, I love chocolate. I love kombucha, the stuff with the floaty stuff in the bottom.
Hmm.
I love travel. I love adventure. I love trying new things. I love hiking. Love just anything that's new and novel. I'll try it. So I have a wonderful life. A wonderful life.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. As you were saying that, I was thinking there are so many parallels here. I also love kombucha.
No,
My wife and I drink it all the time. We absolutely love kombucha. People think it's disgusting. I'm like, it's absolutely amazing.
no. Okay. So my son says, Mom, if you clip your toenails in the bathtub and add water to it in about 3 weeks, you'll have kombucha.
Possibly, but I'm sure what we're drinking is way better, right?
It's got to be. It's got
Yes.
to be.
We love kombucha. Congratulations on being another Mimi. That's
Yes, I love
amazing.
it.
That's amazing. And you said 42 years of marriage, was that right?
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love hiking. We were talking, before the show. Yosemite
Yep.
it's amazing.
It's magical.
I haven't been since 2018. But my friend and I, we did 5 days in Yosemite, and it was probably one of my favorite trips that I've ever done.
Mist
Absolutely amazing.
Trail. Mist Trail, the one that goes up and you feel the mist coming off of the water as you climb, as you hike up.
Is it the one that like when you get to the trailhead, it's just straight up? Is that the one? Because
That's part of it, yeah.
yeah, because I remember we started that one, and I was already exhausted from like just the days of hiking. If that's the same one, that one was absolutely beautiful at the summit, but like climbing it was absolutely worse. But we did do, I'm sure you've done it, but we did do Upper and Lower Yosemite Falls.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when we went in August, and so all the snow had melted. When we got to the top of Upper Yosemite Falls, there was like a little pool of leftover water that had melted. And we were younger and we had a blast. We just literally took off our clothes and just jumped in
Huh.
our underwear, and we just went swimming at the top of like Yosemite,
Yeah,
Yosemite Falls. It was amazing.
and it had to feel good because August,
Yes.
it's hot there. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. We didn't bring any headlamps, so we had to really run to get to the bottom of that
Yeah,
trailhead.
yeah.
So,
And you run fast when you're like, "There might be a bear
yeah,
behind me, I don't know."
yes, yep,
So you
yes,
just run.
yeah. Well, thanks for that, Lisa. I really appreciate it. I'd love to kind of like go back to where it all began, because you had mentioned that your relationship with your mom is such and was such a central part of the story. You lost your mom when you were 18. Can you talk to a little bit about what your relationship was like with her growing up?
She was the most kind, loving, affectionate human. One of the things that stands out, I'll never forget this, was she would be called to substitute teach. She wasn't like a certified teacher or anything like that, credential teacher. But we lived in Georgia at the time in a little tiny school, Whitesburg, Georgia, elementary school. And there was a little boy there. I won't say his name, but there was a little boy there whose clothes were tattered and his shoes were just torn up. And everybody knew that his family was really poor. And I will never forget my mom going and buying him clothes and
Mm,
shoes. And she would buy him his lunch. She didn't tell anybody. I just saw her do it. And that's the kind of heart that my mom had. We would hang out and watch TV. She would always like, "What snack do you want? What should I make tonight?" And she would just make all these fun recipes, dip or chips or whatever. Sometimes she would pick me up from school. Now I'm going to show my age here. Sometimes she would pick me up from school and she'd go, "Lisa, I have this idea for a dress I want to make you. So
mm,
let's go to the fabric store." So we'd go to the fabric store and we would pick out a pattern and pick out the material. She let me pick out the material, the buttons, all the things, and she would make me something, a dress or, whatever. Thank goodness she never got the idea to make me blue jeans because that's never a good idea if when you do that at home. I just remember our life together being so sweet. And my dad worked out of town, so he was not home a lot. So it was just me and my mom. And we lived in a trailer house. We were humble, very humble means. In fact, we only had stairs at one, well, eventually we got stairs at two of the doors, but that third door didn't have any stairs. So we nailed that one shut so you couldn't just accidentally walk out that door.
sure.
So very humble. We lived in the woods. I mean, the
Mm.
boondocks. And I had no idea that I was not as rich as could be. I loved my life with my mom. She schlepped me everywhere. I was in drama and all kinds of, forensic events, academic events at school, always, always busy. And we lived in the woods. So she would have to drive me like 15 minutes to get me to whatever. And she just never it was always seemed to be a joy for her.
Mm.
There was never a time that I thought anything except my mom loves being my mom.
I love
It's
that.
interesting because I don't get to talk about her
Mhm.
often in these contexts, but she set the stage for my whole life, the way that she was with me and in the world and her heart, and that she loved simple things. She was just content with simple things, simple experiences. And that, for me, that set the stage for a lot.
How do you think that has, like, transferred into your like, how you mother your kids?
The simple things, like especially my daughter. So she was the last one to fly the coop, and that was only a few months ago. I'm putting that off, that whole nervous breakdown off. I'm not gonna have that nervous breakdown for a while. But, I mean, we would just go find boba. You know what boba is? Milk tea.
Boba tea, yeah.
Boba tea. So we would kinda make it our mission to go find all the different boba tea places. If we were at one of her soccer games, we'd go out of the way to find a boba place on the way home. Just simple things like that. I feel like living what I lived with my mom, I knew that it didn't take a lot of money or anything fancy. Your kids know if you love being their mom, and I love being my kid's mom.
Yeah.
I feel like that's love covers a multitude of sins. And I didn't have a perfect mom. I'm not a perfect mom, but oh my goodness, her love covered all of it. Just knowing that she loves being my mom.
Yeah. Do you think that, would you say that your mom knew that you loved that she was your mom?
Yeah, I think she did. I think she did. I would hug her so tight and I would kiss her cheek so hard. And we're a family that says I love you. And there was never a night that she or I didn't go to bed and say I love you. And I called her mama. It's been so long because I'm from Texas. It was my mama. I love you, mama.
Yeah.
I think she knew. I hope she knew.
Yeah. I was gonna ask what would you say would be like one of your favorite memories that you can
Mm.
recall from your childhood with your mom?
Oh, it's honestly those simple things. Well, when I was a lot younger, we lived in Denver, Colorado, and every weekend, she and my dad and I would just go sightseeing every weekend. We would go someplace different, Big Thompson River or Santa's workshop in the North Pole.
Mm,
Just all the different things that we would do. And then later, when my dad was working out of town more and we were not able to be with him as much, I remember her taking me to TG&Y, which was, I guess, like Walmart in Longview, Texas, and just doing a little shopping at TG&Y and then going to eat Mexican food because there's a new place in Longview. Let's go try it, Lise.
yeah.
Um, things like that. Just
Mm,
simple, simple things because what they represent is I want to carve out time with you. You matter to me. That's what it represents. It's not that you bought me a Mexican food dinner or you took me and shop. You carved out time. You carved out time to go to a fabric store with me when you could have just said, "Hey, let's go buy you a dress or a shirt." But you took the time to go to a fabric store, help me pick out all the things, and then go home and take the time to make it.
mm.
And we'll talk about that sewing in a little bit.
I have that, those notes in front of me. Yeah. I'm really excited and I can't wait to share that, to hear that story so we could share it. Yeah. It sounds like your mom was really big on making these unforgettable memories. Yeah.
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 And she didn't even, I don't know that she even realized that's what she was doing. She was just
Sure.
loving me in the way that she knew to love me.
Very natural for her then to just be a mom who could be
Mhm.
present and wanted, didn't even know that she was making these memories, but something that sticks with you for a really long time,
Yeah.
you know?
There's a famous person, won't say who it is, but there's a famous person who said of her famous mother, yeah, it was kind of fun to have a famous mom, but it would have been nice to have a mom who was there.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I had the privilege of having a mom who understood what it meant to just be there.
Yep. I can 100%, understand that too. Especially with kids now,
Mhm.
that's one of our biggest things is it, cuz it goes both ways for both dads and moms, right? And I've heard that. I've heard that same thing, but it's a little bit different of like like your kids won't care about what clothes they wore or what vacations they went on to. What they'll care about is if you were there with them, like the time that you were
Absolutely.
playing with them, just playing blocks, or something. And that those things stick with me now too as well. Especially having a 4-year-old and a 7-month-old. We talk about this, me and my wife, we talk about this all the time of like our oldest Willow, she's at this stage where she wants to like read the same 4 books all the time, like every morning. So
Yeah.
every we have like a ritual where for breakfast and dinner so we both work from home and our daughter goes to a nature school and then our youngest, she's still at home with us. But we've kind of made it like a date, like a rhythm of our family where breakfast is quiet and like we're just together with each other. And we do the same thing for dinner. And we do this thing. We started doing this maybe about a year and a half ago, but we wanted to like kind of build these memories, like so
Mhm.
that when they grow up, they remember these things. Just same thing here, right? And one of them is we want dinner and we want breakfast to be very intentional. So we have some candles that we have at our dinner table, in the dining room. And then we also have a patio that we sit on and have dinner, and we have candles out there. And every time we sit down, whether if it's breakfast or it's dinner, we always light a candle. And it's just more of like it's like a significant thing that we do of just, hey, we're lighting the candle. It's breakfast time. We want to just be present with each other. But it makes me laugh because she's at this stage where every day it's the same 4 books. So like we read the same book every morning after breakfast, and I'm like, Willow, we just read this yesterday, but like it's those things that I think my wife had mentioned this to me was, when like we think that something is so small. So if I say no to something, like I'm like thinking, well, that is just such a small thing. There's no reason to get upset about that. But to a child, it means a lot.
Mhm.
And I worry and I think about those things now as a parent of the worst thing that I think would ever happen is me saying no to my daughters and them being so upset over something that I thought was so small that it carries with them into their childhood or later childhood or their adulthood because we're impressioning them now. They're being impressioned. I would hate for that to ever happen. So I was thinking about that, and that really stood out to me. And I was just, yeah, I was so profound. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you're a mom, so it's just so profound to think. But like those moments that we spend with our parents, we think they're they're the world. We think that the tiniest little
Absolutely.
thing, playing blocks with my child, I'm thinking like, what is this? I'm gonna spend 20 minutes and we're gonna play blocks, right? But to that child,
That's their world.
it means the world to
That's their
them.
world.
Yeah.
That's their universe. That's what
Mhm.
they do. Like, we go to work and we do all of our adult things. That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's their job, is to just be with the blocks and be with the crayons and make the messes. Because when they make the messes, it means they're learning. It means they're touching things and figuring out how things work. That's
Yeah.
that's their whole world. And when you're willing to suspend your own to-do list, your own agenda, and be present in that moment, that is what kids remember.
Mhm.
They know if you're swinging them at the park, but you're really somewhere else and you're just like a million miles away, or if you're zeroed in
Mhm.
and you're going, "You wanna go higher? You wanna go higher? I'm gonna get your toes." They
Mhm.
know if you're really there.
Yeah. We always tell her that we only ever ask 2 things from her, and that is to play and obey. Those are
Mhm.
the only things we ever
That's
ask of
good.
her,
That's
right?
good.
Because she's just 4 years old, so we say,
Yeah,
"All we
it
want you
should
to
be
do is
simple.
just play and obey. You play and you obey mom and dad." And
Yeah,
that's all we ask, right?
that's great. And
And
the obey helps keep her safe so she can play,
yeah,
because
right,
'cause you're only gonna tell her things that are gonna be good for her.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yes. I'm very curious, Lisa, can you share any information or what would you like to share about your mom, as far as her passing?
Yeah, so here it's interesting. My mom smoked cigarettes for her whole life. She was part of that generation where I don't know how they didn't catch this sooner, but they didn't really, I guess, understand that cigarettes aren't really good for you. And so my mom started smoking when she was 16 and smoked my entire life until
Mm,
she was too sick to be able to smoke. I would beg her to stop. That was probably the thing that was the one thing about our relationship that I never could understand. I would beg her to stop and I would say, "It's gonna make you sick, Mom." Even before I knew what lung cancer was, before I knew what any of that was, I would just have this feeling that this is not good for my mom.
yeah.
So she ended up with bronchitis and that coughing, and I just was deathly afraid from a very, very young age. I would have panic attacks at night. Sometimes at school, I would pretend like I had a stomach ache so I could go home and be with my mom because
Mm,
I was so afraid something was gonna happen to her because she smoked cigarettes. So let's fast forward to 1982 when I graduated from high school, went away to college. And I get a phone call the first week that I'm at college. And it's my mom. And she says, "Baby, I went to the doctor and he said that I have lung cancer."
mm,
And it just, I mean, how do you even explain in words how that makes you feel? So she did chemo, she did radiation during that year. So she found out in August of 1982. During that year, I met my now husband for 42 years. And he helped me through this whole thing. Like, he was there when I got the call. I just met him and he was there when I got the call. So through that year, she went through different treatments and we got engaged and I was 18. And then ultimately, by the time we got married, I turned 19, right? But during that year, I watched my mom just, kind of dwindle. And I didn't understand how serious it was because she didn't want me to know how serious it was. And nobody else wanted me to know how serious it was.
Yeah.
So here I am planning a wedding. I'm finishing my first year of college. We ended up getting married, moving to Alaska. But the wedding was May 21st. And my mom must have known that things were not going to go well for very long. And she made my wedding dress.
Mm.
So every single little seed pearl she sewed on by hand.
Wow.
And it's not a wedding dress that anybody's ever gonna pick off of a shelf, like off of a rack these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
But to me, it was the most special wedding dress that had ever been created because of my mom and the love that she put into it. Even though she was so sick, she was gonna make my wedding dress.
Mm.
So the day of my wedding, my mom was not doing well, and I didn't even know if she was gonna make it, but she was determined. She was going to make it to see her baby get married, and I'll never forget watching her walk down the aisle with her oxygen tank and then standing when
Mm.
I she was going to stand when I walked in as the bride. After the wedding, I said, "Mama, you need to go to the hospital." She was having trouble breathing. I said, "You need to go to the hospital and I'm gonna go with you." And she said, "No, you're not. You're gonna go on your honeymoon." So we went on our big honeymoon to Dallas, Texas, to the Hyatt Regency and went to Six Flags over Texas. That was our
That
big
sounds like
honeymoon.
a good time.
Awesome. We were so young and we had no money. And
Sure.
so we didn't know. It was just
Yeah.
it was great, except, and then we drove back to my house and didn't know how sick she was. I just didn't know. So my husband had gotten a job as a youth pastor in Alaska, Soldotna, Alaska. So we drove to Alaska. And within a few weeks, I mean, I was certain my mom was going to come visit. I just knew she was going to be okay. She was going to come visit. All these treatments were going to work.
Yeah.
And I got a call within a month or so that instead of coming to visit, I was told your mom is going to be in the hospital and she's going to be on
Mm.
morphine. You need to come home. So we got back to Texas and she was alive for about a week and she passed on July 4th, 4th of July, 1983. And I did not grieve well. I've learned a lot about grief and loss firsthand, but also educationally observing, just learning a lot. And what I know now is that I just did all the wrong things, all the unhealthy things. My mom died and I didn't cry. I didn't cry. I didn't cry at her funeral. Instead, I sang at her funeral. I put her makeup on her in her casket and I just minimized it and said, this is just her body. Her spirit's in heaven. I'm going to see her again. This is just a body. And as I always say now, yeah, it's a body, but that's the body that held me. That's the
Mhm.
body that comforted me. Those are the lips that would kiss my cheek and say, "Honey, I love you. It's going to be okay." Those were the hands that so lovingly prepared me cheese and eggs and, that created my wedding dress and so many other memories that were created with those hands through the years. Yeah, it's just a body, but it's the body of my mother.
Mhm.
So what I learned was, don't minimize the loss. Whatever you believe, if you believe that you get to see that person again, you believe they went to a better place, okay, but still, that's what you knew them with skin on. That's how you knew
Mm.
them. That's how you experienced them.
Yeah.
So you can't minimize the loss. You just have to feel the pain, and it sucks, And I just didn't feel what I needed to feel when I needed to feel it. And, I had nightmares of, feeling her face, putting makeup on this person that was my mother who was no longer alive. I mean, there was just a lot. It was a
Mm.
lot of not healthy ways to grieve. And that kind of in a nutshell, that's what I remember of that whole experience of losing my mom was I just didn't even the process of her dying, I did not understand. Maybe I didn't wanna understand how sick she was.
Mm,
So, there's a lot of things, if I could do it again, I would do way differently.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure you would. I was thinking when you were sharing the detail about the wedding dress, like what a what a powerful image of love that is, you know? Because I think you had mentioned that she was like on oxygen as she was
Mhm.
sewing your wedding dress.
Yeah.
And it made me think of like that is just such a powerful image of love. And I think really that when I think of that memory, that it makes me feel it, I feel like it says so much about who she was
Mhm.
and also how much she loved you. Uh,
Absolutely.
right? But also like you were incredibly young when she passed, you know? And I know you touched a little bit on it, but being 18 or 19 really like how did that shape the way that you process loss now?
Wow, that was my first crack at loss, really, at profound loss, and now in 2019, January 1st, 2019, I lost my youngest son, Chandler, and like I said, I had already learned what not to do. I had already learned, do not minimize this. I don't know how you could now at this point, but I had already learned you gotta feel what you feel when you need to feel it. So I did. So I feel like losing my mom at such an early age, kind of just through life, taught me a lot of how to approach the loss of my son. And another thing that I didn't really grasp until now and having my own children is how very difficult it must have been for my mom to know I am going to leave my daughter.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave my daughter. Well,
Yeah.
daughter and son, my older brother and sister. I'm going to leave my children. And now as a mom, I think, my goodness, how that must have hurt her heart to know I'm going to leave them. And it's going to be so freaking hard. And she wouldn't have said freaking. We couldn't say anything. We couldn't even say crap. We could say crud. And if she was really, really mad, she may say, darn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was really mad. It was darn it. So she wouldn't say freaking, but, to know I'm leaving my kids and they're gonna be profoundly hurt. They're
Mhm.
gonna have this pain. I never really understood that aspect of her dying until now and that I'm a mom.
Yeah.
And yeah.
As you're telling the story, I'm thinking how it's just so interesting the way that having on the show is just so interesting to me because my father also had lung cancer when he passed away. And I'm thinking about how, like, it's so similar, right? And I'm thinking, does everybody that lose somebody that goes like it like I just think the way that my mind works, and I think is that so the way that I experienced it sounds about the same way you experienced it. Does that mean everybody experiences it the same way? And so funny. And the more that I sit down with people, the more that I realize that we're all really alike, but we all are a little bit different in
Yeah.
the same way. But my father also had lung cancer. He actually had it twice.
Mm.
So he had it one time, and this was when I was around 11. And he again smoker his whole
Yeah.
life had lung cancer. He ended up having to have one of his lungs removed, and so he ended up living for like 5 or 6 more years, maybe like that, which was just crazy because even
Wow.
the doctors were like, "You're never gonna live a normal life again. You're never gonna golf. You're never gonna go back to work." But I remember being a little boy and sitting, we had a nurse that would come and change his bandages after he had surgery, and they would, like, pack the wound and wrap the body and everything, and I remember being so freaked out about that, but they were like, "You're never gonna work. You're never gonna play golf again." I mean, that man was so adamant that, like, not only did he go back to work and did he go back and play golf, but he also continued to smoke. And I'm like, my guy, I don't know what are you doing? Why are you doing such a thing? But when he did pass away, it was June 10th, 2005. Like you were saying about your mom, where she probably knew that I mean, she knew she was dying. She knew she didn't have any time, much time left.
Yeah.
And I also wonder if he also knew the same thing, because when it did come back, we were told that it was like all over his body at that point. So it was like all over his body, on his brain. And I'm thinking that man had to have known
Yeah.
that it had come back. He just had to have known. But I also think to myself that he probably knew that it had come back, but again, probably didn't want to go through chemo again. I mean, that's like
Yep.
that is just hell on
Yeah.
the body. I can't imagine anybody wanting to do that again, right? So I think about that now that you share your story too. But it is very interesting, and
So
yeah,
you Can I ask you a question about your story? So you've lost a mom and dad. I lost my dad when I mean, he was 95. My mom died when she was 58. My dad
yeah,
died at 94. So he lived a long, long, long time after my mom had passed. But I know once he passed, I was like, this is the weirdest feeling. I feel untethered.
hmm
I don't have these ropes that attach me to the ground
hmm
anymore. There's no
yeah,
mom and there's no dad. I'm like floating. I have no Is that kind of how did you feel when you had
yeah,
lost them both so, you know?
yeah. So with my dad, so I had told you before we started rolling too, was that um my or maybe we were rolling. I don't even know at this point. But I had told you about how my parents had gotten a divorce early, when I was young, around 11. And my dad actually had custody of me and my sister, so he was like our sole parent.
Mhm,
And so, I'll fast forward up to, he was my best friend
mhm,
when he had passed. And I had shared this in either on an episode or on a solo episode by myself. But what I had thought is, he passed. I was 15, and I went back to school like a couple weeks later. All my teachers were super great. They just gave me like a passing grade to not go. I didn't go to any of my finals. They just gave me like a passing grade, which was really nice. But I remember when I did go back to school, it was this weird. So my grandparents ended up taking me in. I was estranged from my mom at that point, so we didn't have a relationship. So my mom didn't take custody of me. My dad's parents did, and I remember going back to school, and I remember telling somebody this, that I would like run down the halls, like it was like not untethered. It was like this weird freeing feeling of like,
mhm.
which is weird, to be like, you just lost your dad and you live with your grandparents and you don't know your mom anymore. And you just like, it felt freeing. But then after losing my mom, I mean, I kind of feel like I lost my mom way before we physically
Yeah,
lost my mom, right?
yeah,
But I would say now it is more of a feeling of untethered. That's such an interesting word to use. It is more of just, it's more of just like a loneliness, I would
yeah.
say, because I don't know. I'm saying I'm young. I'm 35,
Oh, you're way young. You are way young.
but it is so interesting being young and not having your parents, though, because I always go to reach for my phone, and I just want to like call them, and say, hey, do you want, like, guess what happened today? Or can you believe that Willow did this? Or Penelope just started crawling. How crazy is that? Like, you just want to call somebody, but it kind of brings you back to reality, where you're like, oh, I can't call anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
it
I
is
get
it's
that.
very interesting. It is very interesting. But I forgot what I was gonna ask something, and it was about, and then I totally lost my train of thought. But that's totally okay. If it comes back to me, I'll ask you. It was when you're in the hospital. Oh, the morphine. I don't think it was any of that. I don't know. Sometimes I will just think of I'm like, this is such a great question. I can't wait to ask it. And then I lose it.
Hey, I hear you. I hear you. That's every day of my life in menopause.
but you had mentioned to me that you've said before that you feel that faith isn't like a magic formula.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was very interesting. Somebody who is a Christian, I'm not sure if you're a Christian as well, Lisa.
Yeah.
I think you are. Your husband's a youth pastor, or was a youth pastor, and so I found that so interesting as a Christian to think faith is not a magic formula. And it really struck me, right? But what did that mean for you? Like, what does that mean for you? I'd love to know more about that.
Okay, we're gonna open this can of worms up.
Yes,
So
I would love to know.
I grew up in a very, very conservative, very, very evangelical background. And one of the things was if you pray hard enough and you have enough faith, your mom's going to be healed.
Yeah.
Fasted. I mean, never saw somebody so diligent about fasting and praying and having all the faith. And yet, my mom died of lung cancer. My mom, now, this is the way it goes for everybody. I get there, people get lung cancer that never smoked. I get that.
Hmm.
But in my mom's case, she smoked all her life. She got lung cancer. Like, there's no magic thing about that, that if I just pray hard enough and have all the faith, because I did,
Hmm.
and she passed. So I just have come to have a different kind of definition of faith. And that is that, faith is when you look at a situation for what it really is and you say, be that as it may, it is well with my soul. And by the grace of God, I will move forward one step at a time.
Yeah. I was just thinking too, this is not a Christian podcast, which is just really interesting. But I love that you wrote this on the show notes because it really struck me, and it was very interesting because I was again, this is not a Christian podcast, but I am Christian, and I was thinking about this because this morning I was reading Job, and I had all these questions where I was thinking God has allowed Job to lose his daughters and his sons and his livestock, and this is just the first chapter,
And that's
and
just chapter
it's
one.
just chapter 1, and I was thinking reading this, and I was trying to, like, apply this as a dad to myself, right? But it made me think, like, um, so it says in Job 1 that, uh, uh, Satan is in the heavenly court, and he's saying, like, "Oh, look at your servant Job," and everything. And God says, you could do anything you want to him, but just don't harm him." And then I read it, and then I was reflecting, and I was thinking, but how why would God allow his sons and his daughters to be killed, right?
Yeah.
It was very interesting to me. And I wonder if you feel the same way, because now that I reflect on it, I do feel this way. And I think that this show is a testament to that. But he loses his sons and his daughters, but not because God wanted to harm him. It's because God wanted to use that. It wanted to use that as part of Job's story, right? To show how much he trusts and loves and fears God, not in a way to harm him or to discourage him. It's a way to know that that Job trusts God. And I'd love to get your thoughts on it too, though, Lisa, because I think about it now, and I've thought about this for a while since I've started the show, and I've thought about it. Again, it's not a Christian podcast, but also, like, I've been thinking of, like, I wanted to use this show as a way to show people of, like, hey, I did lose both my parents, but
Mhm.
I'm using what how I feel God has taken something very important from me in my life, but he's going to allow it to be used in a way that's going to magnify him by showing everybody, hey, like, yes, but I'm still a Christian, and I still believe, and I still trust on God, and I know that, like, this I'm believing that this is a true testament to that. I'd love to know your thoughts on that with you and your mom.
Yeah. I guess what I came to was I am not smart enough. It is beyond my pay grade to figure out the whys. And the thing that means more than the why is the who. And the who for me is Emmanuel, God
Hmm.
with me. Emmanuel, God with me. Emmanuel, God with me. That's what matters most to me. I like to understand everything. I really am a person who researches. I'll research pens and pencils to try to find the best pen and pencil. I want to understand everything.
Sure. Yeah.
But what I've learned through time and a lot of life is I could drive myself crazy trying to figure out the whys and trying to figure out. I mean, these questions in the Bible are things that theologians, people that have devoted their whole lives
Hmm.
to studying, can't figure all of it out. How could you figure out God? It's like that's like saying my dog understands advanced math. Like how can you it's God. How can
Yeah.
you like we know about God, we can know God, but
Hmm.
to figure out all the things about like even to understand everything about what we have as the Bible. We can do our best, but it's all going to be interpreted through some kind of lens. So
Sure.
what I take from
100%. Yeah.
Job is there's wisdom, and part of that wisdom is though he slay me, yet will I trust him. No matter what happens, I know that there's a God and to choose to trust God and that God can he's with me and he can redeem anything that I give him. Anything that I give him. Hard stuff happens, life happens, suffering happens. It just does.
Hmm. Yeah.
Nobody has to be to blame. There doesn't have to be any fault. Hard things happen. And when it does, Emmanuel, God is with us. He's good. And I'm gonna trust him. I'm just gonna trust. And it is well with my soul. I just strung together a whole bunch of silly cliches, but they're silly cliches that I'm hanging my life on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that, and I feel like that really resonates with me, right? But I think some people probably don't. Some people just won't really understand that, and that's okay though, right?
It's okay. I just hope that I really want people to be open to the possibility that there is this, and I'm not going to even use all the language. I'm just going to say, just my heart wants every person to understand how much they're loved
Hmm.
by God and that He is with them, whether they believe it or don't believe it, He's with them, even in their pain, maybe most especially in their pain. I just want that
Yeah.
for people because I
Yeah.
know what a comfort it's been to me, to my
Yes.
soul.
Yes. No, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more with you on it, right? Yeah. I want to go a different. I want to go kind of go back to when you were 18, but I just want to linger on that one thing is I've talked with so many people, grief counselors, therapists on the show, and everyone talks about for grieving that everybody has a different way to grieve. And
Mhm.
everyone has a different way to think about grief. And so I agree. I would say, for any listeners, it would just be that you don't have to do it alone, and you can kind of
Yes.
there's so many different avenues that you can go down, right?
Yep.
But yeah, this is one that we use, and it works really well for us, is what I
Yeah.
would say. But I want to kind of go back real quick to when back to when you're 18, because you had talked about um you were mentioning that you didn't grieve very well.
No, I didn't grieve.
Um,
I
it
just
didn't
denied
grieve
the
at
whole
all.
thing. Just
Yes,
denied the whole thing.
yeah. I was hoping we can kind of go into that a little bit of could you go in a little bit more detail? What did that look like for you? I mean, I know you mentioned like you didn't grieve, you didn't cry,
No,
but
I
like
had nightmares. We went back to Alaska, and I would have nightmares, and I would wake up crying. My husband would hold me. I would see my mom in these nightmares. I mean, he could describe it better than me, but I would just was distraught because I just didn't deal with the reality of what had happened.
yeah,
And I think when I mix it up also with the religious part of it, I couldn't understand, like, I prayed and I fasted. I wasn't angry at God, but I just didn't understand, like, I think I did all the things, in my little 18-year-old mind. So there's just a lot, and being young, I love that you said that yeah, I was young. I mean, you don't deal well with getting a pimple at 18,
right.
much less losing
Loss.
your parent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I have to look back and give my 18-year-old self some grace because I did the best that I knew to do at the time. I thought I was being strong for everybody. I thought I was really helping everybody, especially my dad. She's in a better place, and this is just her body. That's all, and we're good.
Yeah.
I'm good. You don't have to worry about me. I'm good. And I just know now it's there's a different way to do it that allows everybody the grace and the space to feel the things that they need to feel.
Yeah. I find it interesting to talk about age too, because I'm thinking now, if I had gone through the same loss now instead of 15 or 26, how would I act?
Yeah.
How would I grieve? I feel like I'd probably act the same way, to be completely honest. If I'm being completely truthful, now even knowing everything that I know now, everything that I've gone through, I still think to myself, I wonder if I would still do it the same way. Uh, Maybe there'd be a little bit of a difference, but because and you're not a therapist, but you are a grief counselor, right? So how do I have so many ways I want to go with this? So I want to do one that makes the most sense, but I'd love to know, how did you get into grief counseling, right? And the other one is I was going to ask is, how do you work with the individuals that you see now? How are you dealing with them when it comes to grief? How are you walking them through grief?
I um I became a certified grief counselor after I lost my son, and I knew what I had gone through and literally kind of wrote a book on it, but I wanted all the tools that I could get to be able to come alongside someone and be a trusted companion in their grief. And so that's what drew me to it. And what I want most I mean, there's a model that I'm really drawn to. It's William Worden, J. William Worden. He's a therapist, a psychologist, and he sets forth this model, 4 tasks of grief that I really resonate with, that I share is the 4 the sort of things that you do as you move through grief.
Mhm.
And I like that because I don't want to be a passive participant in my process. I want to be an active participant in my process. So that's one of the things that I kind of focus on is this is what this grief process can look like, and you take your time with it. You're not on anybody else's time frame, but here's kind of what it looks like from, you know, actually accepting the reality of the loss, to processing the pain of the grief, to adapting to a new world without this person, both the external and the internal adaptations that have to be made, not the least of which is who am I now? And then finally, figuring out a way to live with purpose and meaning in light of this loss? How do I move forward in a way that every day I have a why? Viktor Frankl says anybody can deal with a what if they have a why. Like you can deal with the what if you have a why. And so, to move forward in this last task of grief, which is to figure out a way to have meaning and purpose in your life, even in light of the loss that you've experienced. And for many, that is like you. This 4th task of grief, as William Morden sets forth, is this meaning piece. And that's what you're doing with this podcast. You're bringing meaning out of a profound loss. That's what I do with my writing. I'm bringing meaning and using this loss and this pain to somehow help other people in their loss and their pain. That's
Mm,
bringing me meaning. So many who have lost loved ones, that meaning piece for them. Somehow their greatest loss becomes something that they show up in this world with healing hands. So that's kind of the model that I really like to share. It's meaningful to me, and it's again helps you be an active participant in your grief
sure.
process.
I'm sure you probably see individuals that are using that model, and they're using a meaning, like they're finding a meaning. Do you find that I don't want to say that they process it faster, because there's no timeline on it.
There's no timeline.
There's no
Nope.
timeline on it, but I guess like overall, what are the benefits of it that you're seeing? firsthand?
First of all, this doesn't have to just happen to me. It doesn't just happen to me. I mean, yes, grief comes in waves and you can't do anything about that. Like you just will be I mean, I remember being in a grocery store and hearing a song that reminded me of my son and just like thinking, okay, I have to stand here. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to just lose it.
Mhm.
I'm going to stand here, take some deep breaths. It can the wave just washes over you. So there are certain things that just happen to you. Getting short of breath when in the early stages of grief, sometimes it's hard to take a deep breath and you realize, oh my goodness, there are physiological things
Mhm.
happening in my body as a result of me doing this work of grief. But to be able to say, yeah, things happen to me, but also I can be an active participant in this. I can look and go, okay, here's something that right now I can even begin working toward, even though I'm still trying to accept this whole thing and I'm still trying to deal with the pain of it and I'm still trying to adapt to what this new world is. But I can see how I can participate in each of these things rather than just going, I don't know. And I'm not talking about day one. I'm not talking about week one. I'm
Yeah.
not talking about, because you're just trying to survive. But that's why I think it's so important if we know about this before we ever have a loss. And then as I look back and before I ever knew that there were these four tasks of grief, I can look back and go, oh my goodness, because I have it all written in a book. I can go, oh, at that point,
Mhm.
I was working on this task of grief and the book itself, that is the living out of that fourth task of grief is finding meaning.
Mhm.
One of the ways after losing my mom that I ultimately found such deep meaning, and I didn't even know at the time, in retrospect I do, but I was given the opportunity to record a CD. Someone was going to invest in me recording a CD of songs that I wrote. I knew without a shadow of a doubt it was going to be songs of encouragement for young moms. And it was called Candy Kisses, Muddy Hugs, Songs of Encouragement for Moms. Why? Because when I lost my mom, I came face to face with the reality that when you mother well, when your kids know that you love being their mom,
Mhm.
it is the most significant thing.
Yeah.
And so I had this passion for I saw these moms in the trenches that like, oh my God, I haven't combed my hair in 3 days and I just want to go to the bathroom alone,
Yeah.
you know, and I just wanted to encourage them because I knew I could never again hug my mother. I could never again feel her kiss on my cheek. I could
Mm.
never again feel her arms around me, hugging me, letting me know I am the most beautiful, smart young lady in the world. Like that's that mother love.
Yeah.
And I hungered for it. I missed it. And I wanted these young moms to know that's who you are. That's who you are. And then I ultimately wrote a book called Days of Wine and Noses, Pep Talks for Tuckered Out Moms for the same reason.
Mhm.
My mom inspired me to such a degree that I wanted these young moms to know, my goodness, I miss this from my mom. And you get to be that for your little ones. What an amazing role to play.
Yeah. I was gonna bring up your writing as well, and I wanted to shift into that is, so you had mentioned you wrote The Days of Wine and Noses, and that's for tuckered out moms. And then you also later wrote a raw book on grief. It's called First Brush Your Teeth. I was gonna ask, like, where did that writing come in for you? But we already kind of know that. But it really sounds like writing those books is how you participated in the fourth task.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it. I didn't realize it at the time because I mean, the tasks are kind of relatively new. I don't remember what year he came out with this model or this theory, but I just learned about it a few years ago. I didn't know, but here it is. I'm learning that's a task of grief,
Mm.
figuring out how to bring meaning to that loss. And for me to know what I had in my mom, that treasure that I had. I want to tell all these young moms, you get to be that. You get to be that. That's so significant. Your little one looks at you like you hung the moon, like you are superhero. You are the most amazing human. You get to be that. And what a privilege. So that inspired my mom, the loss of my
Mm,
mom. I don't know. I knew I loved her, but would I have really grasped and understood the enormity of her role in my life had I not lost her at a young age? I don't know.
mm,
And then to write the book, First Brush Your Teeth, again, that was I want to process my grief through writing. This is what I do, but I want to help other people in their grief journeys. And I sure as heck want to get my son's life out there. I don't want anybody to ever forget my son.
right.
So it served many purposes, but all of it comes back to meaning. So, yeah, to be able to help other people when you've been through profound pain, I think is one of the brightest lights of redemption that you can experience.
Yeah, and when you started writing the book about grief, you didn't sugarcoat it, did you? Right? Like you
No.
let like you were letting people see the messy parts, which
Yeah.
is I think so important when with grief,
Yeah.
whether it's about a parent, it's about a son, it could be about
Yep.
anybody. I think the most important thing is letting people see the messy parts, which you definitely kept that in.
Yeah.
What would
There's no pretty bow. There's
right.
no because the book is a day by day chronicle. I
Mhm.
wrote it every single day from the time he was hit by a car. Well, a few days after that, I started writing a blog to keep people updated on Chandler's progress. And then ultimately, it became a daily blog that turned into a book. So when you turn to like 6 months in, June or whatever, that you read,
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
what it was on that day.
Wow.
There's no, oh, I wrote this book. I mean, and this is all fine. You write a book after your loved one passes. There's so much wisdom to share.
Sure.
For First Brush Your Teeth, that's what it was on that day. That's just and my publisher was so wonderful to let me just keep it all just
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
was,
How
just like it
profound.
had it.
Yeah, how profound and extremely meaningful. I mean, I couldn't imagine wanting to sit down and write. I mean, sit down and write anything personally, right? I, like looking back now at both or either of those books, what would you say would be like if you wanted your readers to have like one takeaway from any of those books? Like, what would it be? Like, if you had to say like, this is the one thing that I want them to really understand from like the honesty that you put into those books.
So the first book had nothing to do with grief because the stories in it about Chandler, he was just this little bitty guy loving life that I was telling stories about. And then all these years later, the book that's all about grief and Chandler is the main character. But I would say if there's a common thread between those two books, it is be present now. Be present now. Your presence is the best gift that you will give the people in your life. And, that if you read, Days of Wine and Noses, it's about being present in the snotty noses and the dirty diapers and just being present. And if first brush your teeth, be present to those you love. You do not know how many days you get or how many days you get with them present. That would be the common thread. Be
Mm.
here now. Be present now.
And it's so hard in this day and age to be present. It is
Mhm.
so difficult. I was reflecting on this a couple days ago, like as a father and a husband, I work full time and I run a podcast and I have all these hobbies and there's so many things I want to do that I was thinking about at the end of the day, all I want to do sometimes is just lay down. I just want to relax. And I think to myself,
Mhm.
I have the privilege. I have the privilege to just lay down. It's my right to just want to lay down and relax and just maybe read a book after work or just do anything or just do nothing.
Yep.
And I was thinking like that's my right. I should be able to do that. But then contrary to that, I thought, but also it's my right and my joy to be a parent
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would much rather lay on the couch for just 10, 15 minutes. But also, I have two beautiful little girls who
Mm.
would love to spend time with me. And I have a beautiful wife who also wants to spend time with me, right? And so I think that those things, I will continue to think about that and keep that in the back of my mind when I know that I need to be present, but I also want to just check out for like 5 minutes, right? Because it's so easy to do that. And I think even now, even if if you're listening and you're not a parent, you obviously know what it's like to be able to just kick your feet up at the end of the day because you don't have anything to do. But with your friends or with the ones that you do love, even
Mhm.
if they're not even if you're not married or you don't have kids, like those people still demand and
Your
they
relationships,
yeah,
yes.
those
Your
relationships, they
relationships
demand
matter.
your time. They demand your presence. And we have the privilege to be able to do that.
Yes.
So I do love that. And regarding the writing, do you feel that like the writing about grief gave you maybe something that therapy or conversations alone couldn't?
For me, yes, because I'm a writer, it's kind of my natural language. Just I love words and I love to write words. So for me, that processing was was key. And I mean, I'm a proponent of therapy. I'll go to therapy at the drop of a hat. But I will say I think I'm blessed to have friends that I can be honest with. Our family, we just I think allowed each other the space that we needed to grieve like we needed to grieve. So, I think that for me, my writing was sort of my therapy. It was
Mm,
sort of my catharsis. Um, I will say now when I go back and read it, which I have to read certain things sometimes because of, doing podcasts and different things. It's hard. It's hard to
sure.
read because it was what was happening on any given day.
So
And,
you're just reliving it every time you have to read it, you know?
yeah.
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 Yeah. I have to ask, regarding the writing, do you feel like you see your mom's influence in that writing? Right? Like the way that
Said, my gosh, I am so glad you said that
Y
because
the
my
way that you're
mom
encouraging others, the way that you tell your stories, like, that has to be traced back to her, right?
this is so funny that you would say that because I've totally forgot that. My mother won some kind of, like, poet award. She was a poet. So
Of
in high
course
school,
she
she
was a
won this
poet.
award. She was a writer. She was a really good writer. And so, yeah, that I get that from my mom. And then my son Chandler, I found out after he passed that he wanted to be a writer.
Wow.
And so again, that my
Wow.
writing every day when I didn't want to was I could sense Chandler saying, "Mom, you got this. You
Mhm.
can do this." And I felt like he's writing through me.
Wow. That's
I'm
amazing.
glad you mentioned that because I forgot. She was a poet. She was a really good writer.
Wow. Wow. It sounds like she would be a poet, first of all, the way you describe her. That is so interesting. That is so fascinating to me. I love that you feel and that you see Chandler, right, like, encouraging you as you're writing it too. I think that that's, like, again, I feel like it's like a full circle, right? Like, your mom's a poet, and then you're writing, and Chandler's, like, speaking you through it as well, and,
Yeah.
wow, I really do love that. Yeah, I was thinking too, we were talking about when you were 18 and you were like, "I just did not grieve right at all," you know? Looking back now as both a daughter and somebody who lived it, and then also a grief counselor who understands it, what would you what would you tell 18-year-old Lisa now about grief?
That's such a good question. I would tell her it's okay to cry. You don't have to be strong for everybody. They need to be able to feel what they feel too. And they may not feel that freedom if you are modeling this is what strong looks like. I would tell her you don't need to do all these things to prove that you're a strong person. You can just be the little girl that lost her mom and gets to cry.
Yeah, I'm sitting with that, right? Because I remember not crying when my dad passed away, and I cry now, but I didn't cry then, you know? It's very interesting. For people that are
In the time, it feels like when you're in the middle of the grief, for me, it felt like if I cry, I'm going to shatter into a million pieces
yeah,
and I won't be able to put myself back together.
yeah.
It's easier for me to just hold it all together and just keep going because I can't put it all back together if I let it go. And
But
that's just not true. It's not true. You're able to
yeah,
and let it go and keep moving.
imagine who you would be now if you had let yourself shatter into a million pieces and you had to rebuild, Lisa, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think you would look any different?
Man, that's a good question. I think that I I think that the way that I grieved or didn't grieve just helped shape who I am now. And who I am now, I'm a person who's open to learn new ways to do things. I'm a person who knows that I have blind spots. And then 10 years from now, I'll look back and go, oh gosh, look at that blind spot I had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it's just all part of the growth process. It's hard to tell. It's a great question. I had never thought of it. But I do know, like I said, anything that we give to God, He can redeem it and use it for good.
Hmm.
So even though I didn't do the grieving process in a healthy way, God can use that to help me do something different and maybe help some other people do it differently.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree. And I think also for, for people listening who are a grieving parent,
Mhm.
what does healthy grief actually look like?
Well, it's kind of goes back to the tasks of grief. I mean, it looks like, first of all, accepting the reality of what's happened, and that I feel like that's just a process. I feel like no, I don't feel I know it's a process, and I don't know if I can as long as I'm in skin on this planet, I don't know, as I've said before, I don't know that I can absorb the reality of losing my son in every cell and pore and fiber of my being. I don't know. I mean, I know it. I know he's passed. I
Yeah.
know that. But the finality of it is just so stark and black. So, I feel like that acceptance as much as possible of this is a huge loss and I won't see them again. And just the absorbing of all of that. That's a huge first step. And that's the healthy it's healthy and you grapple with it. You get mad and you get down and you feel all the things. You just feel all the things when you're in that process of just accepting this loss. And then, being willing, just being willing to adapt your environment, your physical environment, your internal environment, being willing. You don't have to just do it and go, okay, I'm going to clean out the room. I'm going to, all the things. I'm going to just do those things. Not even doing them, but just saying, I'm willing to adapt my world to this loss externally and internally. I'm willing, or I'm willing to be willing, because I think that part, when we don't accept it for sure, but then when we don't, and we don't feel the pain of it, and we refuse to adapt in external and internal ways to the reality of this loss, I think those are some of the places where we get really stuck.
Mm.
Um, and I can't dictate to somebody else if they're stuck or not stuck. You know if you're stuck. And
Well, I
if
was going to
there's
ask too. I was going to, I was just going to ask was, um, what sign, like, what are some signs that maybe they're just the opposite of what you're saying, but I was going to ask you was what are signs or some signs that that someone might be doing it in a way that hurts instead of helps?
right, that's not, and I'd like to say, is what you're doing serving you or not serving you? One of the most, I think, salient examples is, and I don't want to step on any toes here of someone who's grieving because believe me, that's a sacred space. I get it. But for example, there's a room in the house, let's say it's Chandler's room. And it's been, a year, 2 years, 3 years. And again, I don't want to put a timeline on it, but for me, in my language, in my world, say it's been a year, 2 years, and I won't go in that room. Or I'll go in the room, but I haven't changed one thing. Everything is exactly the
Yeah.
same. So I'm not adapting my environment to the reality of this loss. He's never going to be in that room again. Not now I feel him there, but he's never going to be asleep on that mattress again.
Right.
And so, you know, that's just one of the tangible ways that we say, okay, is this serving me well or is it not serving me well? Another thing is when people who you love and trust, I'm not talking about just anybody, but people you love and trust seem concerned. And again, I don't mean this person that goes, "It's been a year. Why don't you just get over it?" I don't mean that. People who are truly concerned because maybe they see that you no longer engage in your life. And it's been a while. It's been a while. And you no longer engage in your life like you used to. It can be any number of things. But if someone you trust and love and has your best interest at heart, expresses concern, it's a reason to self-reflect. And maybe they're, you can set them straight and say, I'm fine. And you explain. But maybe as you reflect, you say, you know what, this person cares about me and I can see where they're coming from. And maybe I need to look at this. Maybe it's time for me to talk to somebody like a grief counselor or my
Yeah.
therapist, or maybe it's time for because I am stuck. Maybe there and I more than the word stuck, I like to say, am I honoring the one that I lost with my life?
Mm.
If
Yeah. It's
to
better
honor
than
the
being
one,
stuck, right? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. It is much better
my
than being stuck.
absolutely. I mean, you can be stuck in the mud in a car, but to be
Right.
stuck in the grief,
Right. Yes.
it's a whole that's a whole different deal. And so I
Yeah.
I I like to say it in the proactive form, to say, am I honoring my loved one that I lost with my life?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, you talked about the 4 tasks and one of them is adapting.
Mhm.
How do you feel that you carry your mom with you today in your life?
Just the way that I parent and now grandparent, I carry with me the intrinsic knowledge of what it feels like to just be completely loved. And I don't do it perfectly, Lord knows, but I want to be that for my now grown up kids and my grandkids. I carry that with me from my mom, and I just want them to get that. Another thing that is just like a tangible thing, I never went to bed or went to school or anything without my mom kissing me on the cheek, giving me a hug, telling me I love you. It is a rare occasion that I would see my kids, my grandkids, and as we part, that I don't hug them and kiss them on the cheek and say, I love you.
Yeah.
And especially after losing Chandler, I've told them, when I say I love you and I kiss you on the cheek, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real. Yeah. And even when you think about your kids or your grandkids, and maybe you did touch on this, but I'd love to know, like, what's one thing that you'd want them to know about her?
Oh man. Oh, you just have these really good prompts. One thing I would want them to know about her is that anything that they appreciate or love about me as their mom came from her.
Mm, yeah.
She was my teacher.
It's very apparent. Yeah. Yeah. It's very apparent. I got another one for you that I hope that's a good one though. I like this one. I think this is a good, I was thinking about this one, a couple minutes ago and I was like, this is a good one. I think this is a good one to kind of like wrap things up in a bow. If you could see your mom now, the books you've written, right? The people you've helped, the way that you carry her memory, your kids, your grandkids. What do you think she'd say to you now?
Oh my goodness. I think she would say, "Baby, I'm so proud of you."
Mm,
She would just give me a big hug, and she'd still be wearing her polyester knit pants with the elastic in the waist, and her kids' tennis shoes, and her polyester knit shell top, and her hair that was always perfectly done at the beauty shop, and you don't touch it again for a week, and you go to the beauty shop and they wash it and set it for you. She was older lady when she had me, and just all of those things about her. I can feel it, I can smell her perfume, her Avon perfume. I can just feel the hug, and I can hear her saying, "Baby, I'm so proud of you."
I'm sure she would be. The way that you're helping people, that one sticks out the most for me, right? Again, your mom was she was a poet, you're a writer. Your mom loved to help people. You love to help people. So, what an amazing way to honor her, right? By doing that. So I think that's really great. And then for someone who's listening in, and they're in the middle of losing or grieving a parent, doesn't matter which, what
Yeah,
encouragement would you leave with them today?
man. I would say what I say to anyone who's grieving, and that is, it feels like at times that your world is just shattered, that there's nothing left, that you can't go on. I always swore, if anything ever happens to my mom, I won't be able to go on. Like that, we were that close. She was that huge a part of my life. I wouldn't be able to make it if she died. And I did. I made it. And I didn't just survive, I thrived.
Yeah.
So I would say to anyone who's lost a parent, a child, a loved one, just be open to the possibility of hope and joy after loss because it is possible. It
Mhm.
is possible. The first step, first brush your teeth. And then if you brush your teeth, maybe you'll have the energy to get your clothes on. And if you have the energy to get your clothes on, maybe you'll go grab a cup of coffee. And then maybe you'll call a friend and say, "Can we just chat?" So, baby steps, but let yourself take those steps every day. First, brush your teeth, and then take the next right step and believe in the possibility of hope and joy after loss because it is possible.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree. Those are really I love the brush your teeth. That one sticks out the most for me because it is, right? It's such a small and easy step, but
The
it
first step to start your day, it
yeah,
starts your day. It says, "I'm up, I'm showing up for myself, for my world, for my people."
and it also, you know, it's we're participating in the world versus the world versus just watching the world pass by, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that, and I think it really resonates. I think it's gonna resonate with a lot of people. Before we wrap up though, Lisa, for people who want to go deeper into your story, where can they find your books?
Well, they're both on Amazon, of course. And then, if you want to connect with me directly, I have a website, lisaespinosa.com. You can contact me on there. It's easy. Would love to share at your group or your event or whatever. I'm passionate about sharing hope and joy after loss. And I'm passionate about encouraging young moms that what they do
Mhm.
is just amazing. It matters. Yeah. So I'm easy to find them on Facebook, Instagram.
Perfect. Okay. Lisa, thanks for sharing your story tonight. I think your honesty about losing your mom so young and what you've learned about faith in reality and grief is such a gift. It really is. It's encouraging me. So I want to say thank you personally because it's encouraging me. And for anyone who's lost a parent, I really hope that Lisa's story reminds you that grief isn't something to get over. We don't just get over grief,
Absolutely.
right? It's
Absolutely.
something that you carry and it's something that really shapes you, but it's something that you can still grow through.
Mhm.
So, yeah, Lisa, thank you for joining tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much and for letting me talk about my mama.
Of course. Yeah, anytime. Thank you.